Welcome back, listeners, to the Distractaholics Podcast, where we cover movies, TV shows, basically whatever we feel like distracting ourselves with. I'm Tyler.
And I'm Morgan.
And today we are covering the 2013 horror movie, The Conjuring.
Yes, and we're kind of doing this as a build-up to, is this supposed to be the final installment of the Conjuring saga?
I doubt it.
Okay.
Because the Lorraine and Ed Warren case files are like thick.
Okay. I wasn't.
The most recent.
For some reason, I was thinking like they were going to try and like make it a finale or something. But anyways, there is...
You could be right.
A new movie, new Conjuring universe movie coming out. Is it June 14th?
June 4th.
June 4th. Okay. So, I think we're going to do our first ever series build up to the release of that. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yes.
So next week we're going to do the second Conjuring,
Yes.
and then we're going to follow it up with the brand new one.
Yes.
Exciting.
It is. I'm scared because I think what we're planning on doing is watching it outside with the projector, right?
Yes, that's correct. And I believe you agreed to let me hold your husband. Actually, I guess you'd be your husband holding me.
We'll see how that goes. You can at least have a dog to pet. But
Only one?
Ricken's a big baby, so...
Okay. Morgan.
Yeah.
This movie scares the shit out of me.
Oh my gosh, it really does me too. That's my first note that because I just watched it again today. This obviously wasn't the first time I've seen it. I believe my husband and I watched it when it first came out. And I feel like this kind of set the tone for a lot of a new generation of horror movies, I guess. I don't know.
See, I think Insidious did that. Insidious came first.
Did Insidious come first? Okay.
Yep, it did.
Yeah, this is definitely along those lines then.
And the person that we really have to thank for this new generation of horror is James Wan, the director. So James Wan is director, but he also writes and is executive producer on a lot of these, movies. So let me hit you with the James Wan portfolio, because I don't think a lot of people realize
what all he's involved in.
Yes.
Okay.
And this is as a writer, EP, or director.
Okay.
Saw 2, Saw 3, Saw 4, Saw 5, Saw 6, Saw the Final Chapter.
What?
Dead Silence.
Oh, really?
Death.
Wow.
Yep. Death Sentence. Insidious.
Okay.
The Conjuring. Annabelle. Insidious Chapter 2. Fast and Furious 7. The Conjuring 2. Lights Out. Annabelle Creation. Jigsaw. Insidious The Last Key. The Nun. Aquaman. Annabelle Comes Home. The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, which is the new movie. And Spiral, which is yet another Saw movie.
Yeah. Have you seen that one yet?
I have not, but I know it's got both Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson in it.
I know. So random to have them in like a serious... I'm interested to see how they do in like a serious horror type situation. Yeah, so I really like a lot of those movies. Those are actually some of the top movies on my scare list, I would say.
Right. And it's from this one guy.
Yeah, that's insane. Because, Insidious, I've watched each of them only once because they scare me so much. But I really loved them. I loved them a lot.
Oh, it's so good.
So,
and they all connect together.
Yes.
Oh, it's awesome.
He's very good at building a universe
movies.
And being a part of a universe with
Absolutely.
These Insidious, Saw, and Dead Silence is a good one too.
Yes,
one that's
very
not,
underrated.
Yeah, one that's not very popular, but I thought that one was really good as well.
So let me hit you with some of the announced movies that were on the IMDb list that I'm excited for.
Okay, that are coming out soon. Okay.
Yep, I got only 3 of them for you, but that would be the Tommyknockers. I don't know if you know the legend of the Tommyknockers. That's a paranormal thing. You do, judge by the look on your face.
You know it's a Stephen King book, right?
Oh, I did not.
Yeah.
Oh, that's going to be a good one then.
Yeah, I mean, I'll have to listen to the book then.
The Nun 2.
Oh, really? We didn't watch all of The Nun.
I was just going to ask you if you did. I didn't like that one. That was one of the few movies that I watched and I was like, this isn't even scary.
We didn't even get through it because we thought, we just decided we didn't like it. And yeah, we didn't even get through it, which I was disappointed because I wanted it to be really good.
But here's the one I'm most excited for, The Crooked Man. What's that, you might ask?
Yes.
The Conjuring 2. Remember the Crooked Man?
I don't remember.
When they're in England?
I don't remember The Conjuring 2 very well. So
you'll watch it next week.
Yeah, me rewatching. I almost rewatched it today just because I was in the mindset. For some reason, I don't remember that one very well.
Oh, I actually think it's scarier.
I
think that one scared me more.
Yeah, that could be. I'll have to. Oh, maybe I'll watch it after we're done. Probably not, because it'll be dark.
No. You do not watch these after dark.
Well, I like to watch them when it's storming. I mean, my husband and I have spooky movie dates where like we have to save certain movies for the perfect weather, where it's like overcast and cloudy and stormy and stuff, and then we like usually open the windows so we can hear the rain and the thunder, and then we'll either watch scary movies or we'll listen to our favorite YouTubers or podcasts that are horror related. There's a guy that we listen to on YouTube called Lazy Masquerade, and he just tells a bunch of like horror type stories that are really, really good. So we like to save his videos for the rainy days, if you will.
Me too. You.
We try.
Hit us with characters.
All right, so there are quite a few characters in this movie, and they're all pretty important. First, we have Lorraine Warren, played by Vera Farmiga, which she is the older sister to who, Tyler?
I don't know her name, but I know she plays in American Horror Story.
I asked you because I didn't want to try and pronounce her name.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll try to pronounce it. Give me just 1 second.
It's Taissa, I think.
Tessa.
Is it Tessa?
It's gotta be Tessa, right?
I think so. I don't know. But okay, so I thought it was cool because I like Tessa a lot. She's in American Horror Story and a lot of other things. But next we have Ed Warren, who is played by Patrick Wilson. I don't know a whole lot about Ed and Lorraine Warren, which I know you do. But I feel like these two do a very good job playing them in this world. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know how they are in real life, but I think they really sell it. Next, we have Carolyn Perrin, who is the mother, played by Lily Taylor. Roger Perrin, played by Ron Livingston, who's the dad. And then the rest of the characters are the little girls in the family. We have Nancy, Andrea. Nancy is played by Haley McFarland. Andrea by Shanley Caswell. Christine is played by Joey King. She is actually also known. She's been in a couple bigger movies. She was definitely a face that I recognize. She's in Kissing Booth, The Act, Ramona and Beezus, lots of TV shows, Slender Man. And then we have Mackenzie Foy, who plays Cindy, and she's known for The Nutcracker in the Four Realms, Interstellar, and the Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 1 and 2 movies. And then the youngest girl, April, is played by Kyla Deaver, and she's known for Along Came the Devil and Before I Wake. Before I Wake's a pretty good horror movie as well.
Yes, it is.
So I thought it was pretty cool that even the little girls who were in this as child actors, they have continued on and been in some big movies. So
this was a big movie.
Yeah, but I mean after this.
May I hit you with a summary?
I think our listeners would love that.
Okay. Okay.
You better leave that in there.
I absolutely will. In 1971, Carolyn and Roger Perrin moved their family into a dilapidated Rhode Island farmhouse, and soon strange things start happening around it with escalating nightmarish terror. In desperation, Carolyn contacts the noted paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren to examine the house. What the Warrens discover is a whole area steeped in a satanic haunting that is now targeting the Perrin family wherever they go. To stop this evil, the Warrens will have to call upon all their skills and spiritual strength to defeat the spectral menace at its source, that threatens to destroy everyone involved. From IMDb.
As always, what would we do without it?
So let's get into what we liked about the movie. You want to start us off?
Sure. So, listeners, we're kind of doing a different setup for our podcast today. Just decided to try something else. Make sure to leave us comments. Let us know what style you're liking better, which is more listener friendly. I don't know. Tell us what works for you. Okay. So one of the first things that we notice in this movie right away is the music. Like, as we're introduced to everything, the music really sets the tone, in my opinion, and because music is such an important aspect of my life and just sounds like the sound of my dog biting her toenails right next to me that I'm sure you can hear. I feel like that really makes a horror movie. So movies with great sound, great music, great scores are always going to be higher rated, in my opinion. And I feel like this movie does a really good job using the music to build up your apprehension.
Morgan, promise you're not going to get mad at me.
Oh, God. I guess.
I didn't even notice.
Oh, my gosh. Well, it's so interesting, though, because, like, that's something I noticed right away, and it's interesting that we're watching the same movie, but we notice different things.
And I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing, because it feels like it's good that it blended in and just made the whole movie flow so well that it was never noticed.
Yeah, and maybe it's just because it's something that I really, really appreciate and focus on is why I'm, like, hyper aware of it, maybe. I don't know.
You do. You are much more in tune with music, no pun intended, than I am. Can I tell you the first thing I noticed?
Yes.
How beautiful that house was. It wasn't dilapidated, nothing.
You're skipping.
I looked at that. Oh, I'm sorry.
You're skipping
You
right.
want me to talk about Annabelle?
Yes.
I don't want to talk about Annabelle.
You skipped right over it. Well, okay, so my next was just, I appreciate how it opens with the
A completely separate story?
Yeah, I like it because it makes a perfect opening for the universe and gives them that perfect opportunity to have a story that is part of the same thing, but also a completely different aspect and individual unit on its own. So I thought that was a really cool way to introduce the entire universe.
It is interesting because the Warrens were famous for Amityville, not the Annabelle doll. So it's interesting that they chose the Annabelle doll and not the Amityville haunting.
Which, that was actually something I was going to ask you. At the end, so they're in Rhode Island for this one, right?
Mm-hmm, that's correct.
And then at the end, they talk about how they just got a call for Long Island. Mm-hmm. At the very end, they said that they had a new case in Long Island or whatever. And they don't really focus on it or anything, but that's actually related. That's actually the Amityville haunting.
Oh, I thought Amityville was before this.
From what
I thought they referenced it.
I don't believe so. From what I read, I believe it was on IMDb, was that the Long Island that they're referencing at the end was alluding to Amityville, which, like you said, is the one that they're actually famous for.
Cool. Yeah, that's a very interesting fact.
Yes.
I wasn't going to talk about the Annabelle though.
Oh. So you like dolls, huh?
Nope. Morgan.
Yeah.
I want to go back to the house.
Okay.
Would you not want to live in that house? Look how beautiful all that was.
Okay. Yes. I love the architecture, the woodworking, like all that custom stuff, but it also makes me think of all of how the house was built, and they probably only have like baseboard heating or the heating where they just have the big vent in the bottom of the floor where the air has to come up.
It's fine. It's fine. It was beautiful.
It was, but I was definitely thinking of all the work that would need to be put into it and just the maintenance of it. I feel like the costumes and the attention to detail throughout the movie, just to get kind of get that 70s vibe type thing. I did enjoy that. I feel like they did a good job with that, and I like attention to detail when it comes to costumes and that type of things, which is one of the reasons I don't like Hamilton.
How dare you?
Just
dare
slide
you?
that right in there.
How dare you? I have not picked one fight with you today. And then you go and just chuck the stone right at me. How dare you? Okay, so something that I think this movie does a really good job of that I really like is building suspense. It does not rely strictly on jump scares. So there's all these scenes. There are jump scares. But there are all these scenes that build the tension, build the tension until eventually they see Bathsheba on top of the armoire.
Yes.
And that scares me so much. It did such a good job of building the fear until you get to that point.
Right.
That's the breaking point.
It's not just jump scare. It's like building up the tension. When's it going to be? When are they going to jump out? And then
when am I
going
going
to
see it?
Bam. Yeah.
Right.
And I know a lot of people don't like jump scares. I don't mind them because I do get really scared that way.
It's a cheap thrill to me.
Yeah. But I feel like this director that you've been talking about, that he does an excellent job of building up to the jump scare rather than just relying on something jumping out at you to scare you.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. And another thing that I feel like the movie did a really good job with was the foreshadowing. And kind of right away when we're first introduced to Ed and Lorraine, there's kind of there's foreshadowing, and then it's kind of flashbacks that are alluding to the fact that something happened to Lorraine. Yep. So I feel like they did a really good job with that. And I also really liked the camera shots in this movie.
Do you have one in particular that you really liked? Because I have a specific note.
Well, the note that I have is when she's I think it's Christine is looking under the bed.
And it flips back around.
Yeah, well,
and she's looking in the corner.
Well, when she's first looking under the bed, so it puts us in her shoes basically. So the camera
never look under the bed.
No. The camera flips upside down, and then you see the camera move back and forth, like if you would be looking under the bed and moving your head back and forth, the camera moves like that. So it's that first person type of angle, but it's a very different angle than what you're used to, I think. So I really liked that, and I feel like some of it they kind of tried to stick to the 1970s vibe to make it not really seem like it was produced in that time, but it wasn't overkill either.
So on that note, I really enjoyed the ghost hunting scene where they were showing it through the cameraman that was recording them ghost hunting
with the
big microphone and the big reel recorder thing,
and the aspect ratio.
Yes,
too.
The 4:3 kind of. That was the specific note I had. I really enjoyed that scene.
Yeah,
the way that was shot.
I did as well. And also adding to the 1970s vibe, if you notice in some of the random scenes, like when they're unpacking, when they first move into the house, and then when they're unpacking the ghost hunting equipment, they're just playing like 1970s bops in the background to set the scene some more. I appreciate that as well.
So I have an attention to detail moment that I really enjoyed.
Getting back his attention to detail hype train.
And I didn't catch it. This is the first time I'd ever noticed it. And it's not pointed out at all. It was just something I appreciated. So one thing I really liked is that Rory leads Cindy up to his hiding place to hide from the spirits. But when she gets locked in the room and they eventually get in, Ed and Roger Perrin and the ghost hunter, they all get in. You didn't notice this, but you could see their breath in the room.
Oh, I missed that.
Yes, because I had never caught it before, because obviously there was a huge change in temperature because of Rory. Mm-hmm. So the attention to detail thing that I had never caught and that I really appreciated.
Yeah, that was also one of the things that I had. I really love how they pay attention to the lore of, like, the demonology lore and that type of stuff. Like I really appreciated that, how they were listening into Ed and Lorraine's lectures, and they're talking about ghost versus demon, their different power, that type of stuff, because I like to learn about that kind of stuff. Do I necessarily believe it? Maybe not, but
TBD.
But I don't not believe it either. I'm on the fence about it, but I really appreciate that attention to detail. And then they also mentioned the nasty smell, like that kind of sulfury smell, which as you continue to watch Supernatural, you'll find that sulfur equals demons.
That's correct. It's always associated with demons.
Yes. Really, the last like that I have listed takes us right to the end. At the end of the movie, they wrap everything up. It seems like it's going to be wrapped up in a nice, neat little bow, and it's going to be a happy ending. But even though they leave it ending this way, they're still able to come out with multiple other movies within this universe. So I liked how they make you think it's a happy ending, even though you know it's not, or it's not going to be. So
did you look up any of the truth of this at all?
I didn't. So you know a lot about it, right?
I do.
Okay,
so
cool.
After we get into our dislikes here, we'll talk about the actual truth of this haunting. The last thing I liked was the end credits where they show all the real photos of everybody. I always like that nice touch when you have something that's based in reality. If you can do that, you should, because it helps connect the story.
Which that's a perfect segue into my first dislike. I enjoyed that too, how they incorporate the pictures since it's based on a true story. But I have mixed feelings about these movies, TV shows, when it comes to this sort of stuff that are based on a true story. Because sometimes I think it's so far, like, people are like, oh my God, that was real. And it's so far manipulated from the truth that it doesn't actually tell the real story.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
Okay.
So, Morgan, I can't believe that was your first dislike. Because my first dislike was, did they really need to kill the dog?
That's down there. I was mad that they made a tree spooky because I love trees. And actually, the woman hanging in the tree makes me think of a local folk legend that we have in my county. I think we're going to have to incorporate it into one of our episodes of us visiting this place.
What is going on?
Don't you love when I spring things on you in the middle of the podcast?
I am so interested right now.
Okay, so, well, I'll save it for the episode, but there is a place, there's a specific road and a supposed tree where something happened in my county, and it's supposedly haunted. And so I want to make plans for us to go there and experience it. I'll send you the info, but I don't want to give too much away to our listeners so we can do an episode on it.
Okay, all right.
And then, yes, my next thing is, why is it always the fucking dog? I hate that shit. Like,
they
why?
Didn't need to kill the dog.
No,
you didn't need to bring the dog in at all.
It's not necessary. Even if that happened, I don't want to see it.
We didn't need it.
You can kill all the human characters, just don't kill the animals.
Exactly. So my next dislike, Morgan, I hated the touchy-feely Ed and Lorraine Warren family stuff in this movie.
Their love story.
I get it. It's meant to make the characters more relatable. We form an emotional bond, all the characters. I get it. I didn't need it at all.
I liked the mom and dad's relationship. Like, they had a happy family, and I appreciate that, but I didn't need it reiterated multiple times that this is why God brought Ed and Lorraine together. Like, I got it the first time, folks.
The spirit coming through the locket. Remember, Lorraine's in the basement and she loses the locket.
Yeah.
And one of the next things, there's the spirits in her house threatening her. I don't think that's based in any kind of lore either. Oh,
okay. So that's what was supposed, like, that's how it attached to them or whatever.
Yes.
But
it was a conduit.
But just because her daughter had the matching one?
Yes. That was the thing.
Yeah.
It was a spooky scene, but I'm very certain that that's not based in lore. Listeners, feel free to correct me.
Yeah, I don't feel like that was needed. Like, if the locket was taken off of her, like, if she would have lost the locket and then it came back, and then, like, she was wearing it and set it down and the daughter got a hold of it, something like that. Like, I could totally see that when it's, like, grabbing onto a physical object or whatever. But to go through the mystical...
I think it's all meant to show how powerful evil forces can be.
I guess, but the lockets weren't really even like sacredly
they weren't
tied
even the
to
same.
each other.
They were different lockets.
Yeah.
I didn't think the scene was necessary.
I didn't even realize that that's what was happening.
Yeah.
So
me next, because I'm gonna complain about the exorcism.
Well, yeah, the fact that witchcraft means that you worship the devil, or that you made a vow to the devil, or you signed his book or whatever.
Haven't you seen Sabrina?
I have. But that, I don't know. I don't, especially during this, like, how they tie it to the Salem witches and that type of stuff. I just don't feel like it's necessary to deem that witchcraft means worshiping the devil.
So there's a difference between a demon and a witch. So I was confused why a witch was possessing somebody.
That's actually a really good point that I didn't think of. Like, they're talking about how it's a demonic presence or whatever, and they talk about in the beginning how a demonic force is something, it's different than a ghost because it's something that was never human. Yet
correct,
this demonic force is something that was human. So I never caught that. So
somebody that's arguing with me would say, well, the witch might have summoned a demon. Okay, maybe. But Bathsheba was the one that possessed in air quotes here, Carolyn.
And cursed the land and all that shit. So yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point that I didn't even think of. So
I didn't like the exorcism scene. It was over the top. It was brutal. I mean, I know people that are in real exorcisms say they are brutal. I don't know. The scene just didn't do it for me.
Yeah,
I didn't think it was that scary.
And I didn't think it was very well done for an exorcism theme. Like,
yeah, I don't know. I just didn't like the scene.
Yeah, I didn't think they focused on the right things. And anyone who knows anything about an exorcism,
I've been possessed 4 times.
Yikes. All right, so I'm bringing out the crosses and holy water around you. Anyways, anyone who's read about them, and I mean, obviously I just know about them from like books and fantasy and fiction movies that I've read, so I don't know about the Catholic religion or anything. So
you rang?
You said Catholicism, may I help you? So in any of the stuff that I have read, they make it very adamant that when an exorcism is going on, you do not, if you're not the one doing the exorcism, you do not talk to the person, you do not touch the person, you do not address the demon. Anything, like, the other people in the room are not allowed to do anything. Like, they just have to be there for support, recite the prayers that they're supposed to, and then throughout this entire exorcism, they're, come on, fight it, get the fuck out of her. Like, they're addressing the demon, they're doing everything you're not supposed to do in an exorcism situation. So it's not really even an exorcism. So I don't know why it was necessary, and Ed starts and stops throughout the entire thing, and I don't think he even gets through the entire exorcism rites or whatever. End of rant.
Morgan, that's a really good transition to the truth of this.
Okay.
So can I get the biggest thing out of the way right away?
I'm really excited to hear, because I don't know anything about this story at all.
Okay. So that whole exorcism never happened. Never happened.
Makes sense. Why this part wasn't very good. They didn't have anything to base it off of.
Oh boy, you're really gonna hate all of this.
Okay.
So when the Perrins bought the house in the 70s, right? The person that gave them the keys allegedly told them to leave the lights on at night, and they didn't know why. So at first, when they moved in, they started experiencing, I guess, little things according to, so Andrea, who I think is the oldest daughter,
Yeah, she's one.
Has written 2 or 3 books on this. I think it's a series of 3 books.
Oh, okay.
So she's given a lot of interviews. I've seen a lot of investigations done on this property.
Mm-hmm.
My boys at the Ghost Adventures crew did an investigation at this property. So I've also done a lot of research on this over the time since the movies come out because I was so fascinated by the movie. So they had all this little stuff start happening at first, and then it started getting progressively more violent. To, I guess there were people yelling at the daughters that there were 7 dead soldiers in the walls or in buried on the ground or something like that. Eventually, Carolyn started doing research on demonic forces and ghosts and that kind of thing because they all believed their house was haunted. And it wasn't Carolyn that reached out to the Warrens. It was actually a family friend.
Oh.
So that's how the Warrens got involved. And the Warrens investigated that house multiple times or came and visited the family over 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do shit. They didn't do anything to get this force out. So they did do a seance. This is according to the daughters. They did a seance in the house where Carolyn was sitting in a chair. She started talking in tongues. The chair actually picked up, levitated, and threw her across the room.
Interesting. And they didn't do anything?
So they didn't know what to do after they got her. They might have done an exorcism at that point, but I guess Roger threw them out of the house.
What?
So this whole fairy tale of the Warrens saving the day, that was all for the movie.
I'm surprised that since the mom collaborated with this, I'm surprised that she was down with painting them as heroes when they didn't do anything.
It's good. It's a good movie, but can I break your heart even more?
Yes.
Bathsheba,
not
real person.
Not. Oh, you say real person?
It's a real person.
Okay. Go on.
She was accused of practicing witchcraft, but there was no evidence. So what happened was she was taking care of an infant. The infant died in her care. They found that the infant had a piercing at the base of the skull or something. They're thinking like a needle.
Oh.
And I think that's where they're making the witchcraft connection.
See, and that
it was very loose.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying about it's always witchcraft. They're signing with the devil. When all the people who were accused of witchcraft and everything were usually innocent people. They were usually women in a power area of power. They were usually healers, using things that they just didn't know anything about. And I hate when witchcraft is portrayed as strictly related
evil
to the devil because, yeah.
So no real evidence there. There were people that died on the property, some of them mysterious. Some of the deaths have been disputed, whether they occurred on the property or not on the property. Doesn't really matter. So the people that bought the house after the Perrins said they never experienced anything. Up until 2019, it was sold to somebody else, and they said they have experienced stuff on the property.
Interesting.
So whether the place is actually haunted or not remains to be seen.
And a lot of times, is it just because the realtor or whatever planted that seed of you need to leave the lights on? Even though they didn't say why, did they plant that little seed of fear? And so that kind of made not really psychosomatic, but something that
it's like a placebo effect almost.
Yes, exactly.
I would counter that with, this was the 70s. Weren't there a lot of serial killing and that kind of stuff going on in the 70s?
Well, and that's actually something I had written down. Why does it seem like a majority of hauntings, serial killers, all this shit was happening in the 60s and 70s? Was it because of the peace and love movement? People were just...
Sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Were people just more open to this kind of stuff? Did the internet kill the haunting star? I don't know.
I think there are probably more people that believe in hauntings now than then.
Really? You think so?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right. What other real facts you got?
That's the actual truth. It is a 200-acre property. Of course, people died on it. It's a lot of land.
Yeah, and especially since it's been around for forever, and I'm sure people have lived on it for forever since it's on the East Coast. So, yeah, there would be a shit ton of deaths there.
Do you want to run this through the Distractaholics rating scale?
So let's run The Conjuring through our Distractaholics movie review formula here. And I gotta write it down so I can
math it out.
Math it all out here. All right, so our first spot we got here is the plot/story arc. Does it work or does it not work? Is it a story, a story arc that you follow, that it has a good build up and then like your conflict resolution, all that type of shit?
That's tough, Morgan, because I feel like it does in certain aspects, then other aspects I'm like...
Yeah, the exorcism being at the end kind of leaves you wanting, so...
Yeah. Can we give it like a 3?
I was thinking 3.
Okay.
Alright, and the plot being plausible, is this something that could happen or no way in hell?
I think it's pretty plausible.
It's a mixed thing because, like I said before, I don't necessarily believe in it. I don't necessarily not believe in it. So I think I would probably give it a 3 just because it's in the middle.
Okay, I'm good with 3.
Okay. And the attraction with the premise. Is it something that's boring and overused or exciting? You think
5.
of 5? But
I watch this movie at least twice a year.
But I feel like the premise is something that, like, hauntings, like, it's something that you see a lot, especially...
I'll knock it down to a 4.
Oh my gosh. Alright. We'll give it a 4, but I disagree. It's something that's overused, but I wouldn't call it boring.
I would call this pretty... It felt unique.
But I guess...
I think that's more directing style.
Yeah, like I said, it kind of brought a new generation of horror.
Of movies that leave me fucking terrified.
The attraction subcategory entertainment value. Was it very entertaining or not entertaining at all?
I'm somewhere between a 3 and a 4.
I'll give it a 4.
Okay.
I was pretty entertained, especially the first time I watched it, because I didn't know anything about the story, that type of stuff, so I was pretty entertained. The theme identity, kind of the same thing, but focusing on theme. Was it extremely entertaining or not entertaining?
I feel bad. I keep wanting to give it 3s.
Yeah, I would give this one a 3, if not a 2. Intrigue in the category of theme. Did you have any connection or no connection to the movie, or does it teach you something, make you think, or form an emotional connection?
I would give it a 4.
Okay. There weren't any characters that I was like, oh my gosh, they cannot die, I do not want this person to die type thing. But it makes you think of the lore and all that type of shit, so.
Correct. Yeah. Absolutely.
The acting in terms of the characters themselves. So we're just looking at the characters, not necessarily the actors. Were the characters multidimensional or were they bland? I would give it a 3 or a 4 because we talked about how they tried to make Ed and Lorraine multidimensional and we just didn't care.
Yeah, I'd say a 4.
Okay. And then acting in terms of performance. Is this Oscar worthy acting or something I could do better? And I actually forgot to add this in. Something I did, or maybe I did add it in. Something I did like was during... The only part that I liked about the exorcism was during the exorcism, I thought the actors did a really great job of just portraying sheer horror on their faces. Is it Patrick Wilson? Is that guy's name?
I think so.
I feel like when he is looking, the camera's focused on him during the exorcism, he looks like he's about to shit his pants. And I appreciate that. So I thought the acting was really good.
I would have said it's a 4.
All right. And does the dialogue tell a story? Like, does it make the story flow, take away from the story?
I'd give it a 5.
Okay.
I think they do a good job of crafting the story.
Yes. Yes, in terms of dialogue especially. And then lastly, we have the context of the dialogue. Is it way out of place or goes with the times in the storyline?
Felt like it went with the times.
I think so. They
said groovy a couple times.
That's what I was gonna.
You caught it.
That's what I was gonna talk about too. So
I was like, I'm bringing it back.
Groovy, psychedelic. All right, let me add this up here. All right, so The Conjuring on the Distractaholics rating scale is a 39 out of 50 or 78%.
Yeah, all right.
Not bad. I mean, yeah.
I'm wondering if the second one's going to score better.
So that's all we have on The Conjuring. Tyler, what's been distracting you this week?
Let's see. Distracting me this week. Some running,
the
some
cat
working,
on your shoulder.
The cat that's on my shoulder. That's really about it. Editing a podcast.
Yeah, it's only been a couple days since we
recorded
our last episode. So, for me, I've just been filling out new paperwork for my job, getting all of that stuff in order and out of the way. Still listening to American Gods and trying not to roast in this heat wave that we're having.
But it's going to cool down soon.
It is. This weekend's supposed to be really nice, so.
Can't wait.
I know. But next week, like we said, we're going to continue on with the Conjuring universe, and we will be watching The Conjuring 2 and
check it out.
Yeah.
And maybe check us out on all the social things.
Yep.
Where can people find us?
You can find us on Instagram, YouTube, check out our website, give us an email. Website is distractaholics.com. Email is distractaholics@gmail.com. Leave us some feedback. We've got a couple comments, and it's great. Tune in for next time. I don't know. I've got nothing more to say. But I gotta get out of this hot room, or I'm gonna have a heat stroke.
Bye, listeners.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Love you. Bye.
Okay, so you found the Easter egg already. I crossed out where it says family size. I wrote Tyler size.
Nice.